We have our first guest.
Yeah. Oh,
First
it's live
attendee.
already?
Yes.
I don't see
Yes,
it
I
here
think
on
so.
my screen. But what's up, everyone? Namaskar. Welcome back to another live. Um, so, this is Aditya Soma. If you don't know me, I'm a real estate agent, real estate investor here in Windsor, Ontario. But as of now, I'm in India with my little princess, my sister's son. Today it's his 21st day ceremony. Okay, he's acting. He's sleeping halfway slept. So here's the thing. This is what freedom means to me, spending with family at the right time whenever it needed. So we talk in this channel about how to get that freedom. That's a big part. So to get the freedom, you need a cash flow. So that's why I have my good friend, my partner, mentor, everything, who taught me so many things. So, of course, if you don't know Sav, uh, I'll give a brief introduction, and then Sav, you take it over, and then we will go into more how to create extra cash flow. Because right now, with the low inventory, with the amount of biddings going on, with the prices going up, you need creative ways to increase your cash flow. So one ADU is not enough nowadays. You need two ADUs to generate that solid cash flow, but it's not that easy. You need to know so many things. You need to know how much cost. You need to know, how much time it takes to renovate. You need to know, who need to contact, what need to be done, all those things. So that's exactly why I have invited Savio here, because who is like the well-known person for ADUs. As far as I know, like all his projects are like 100% ADU projects. Like he bought homes in a good neighborhoods, added the ADU, made extra cash flow, and now we are working on double ADU on our property, like together a partnership project. So because he's the front face of that project, he's the one who is dealing with all the contractors, renovations, city, and everything. So that's why I have Sav. So Sav, first of all, thank you so much for your time, because I know for sure uh, everyone who is going to join this live will be enjoying, and even people who did not join, who watch later, will gather a lot of information on this one. So thank you so much. Welcome again.
Wow, man, what an introduction. I'm really, truly humbled by that introduction. Thank you so much. I don't deserve it. That's for sure.
No,
That's
no,
for
no.
sure.
You do.
I'm a
That came
normal
from
guy. Here's the thing. I'm a normal guy, who started in real estate investing just like yourself. But, the freedom, you talked about freedom and freedom of life. I think first and foremost, for most of us who are in real estate investing, you have to have the freedom of the mind, right? Because if you don't have the freedom of the mind, you have to be like that newborn child who has no restrictions on his mind in what is possible in life, right? Because the moment you free your mind, everything is possible. Nobody I myself wouldn't say that I'm a ADU expert 3 years ago or 4 years ago. I had no idea about construction. I had no idea what a gutter or a downspout is. All right. But in those 3 and 4 years, I opened my mind to the possibilities. I said nothing is impossible, right? We can learn, and everything is fixable, everything is doable, everything is figured out to build. And here we are today, right? Aditya, I think you're the same. Thanks for that introduction, man. I really appreciate it. I think it's our duty, and I, really give you praise and credit, a lot of credit, for sharing back to the community, because a lot of people like you who are ultra successful in real estate investing don't really share back. They keep it for themselves, right? So I feel the same as well. It's our duty now to give back to the community and share with the community and tell them and teach them and give our experiences so they can do the same. So thank you for that, man. I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Hmm.
So, first of all, Kim says, God bless lovely baby. Thank you so much. Truly, that freedom really. My whole family, we came to India before he born. By the way, what's his date of birth?
Tell
December
us.
25th.
Oh wow, Christmas
On
Day.
Christmas, he born on Christmas.
He's a holy baby.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Actually, he was due on 29th, but he came early.
Yeah, perfect timing. What's his name?
But
You didn't tell
truly,
us.
it,
You did not tell us his name. What's his name?
no, we haven't decided the name yet.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So in India, it's different. In India, we got some time.
Okay. I like it.
Yeah.
I love
So
it. I love it.
in India, we get some time, like almost 6 months, 1 year. They generally, like right now, they call with a god name, like
Okay.
what do you call, family god. In India, we have like thousands of gods,
Yeah.
so they call it with a god name until the first, um, what do you call, the first birthday, or there is some tradition that goes, and on that day they name him. So we got some time.
It's
I'll
beautiful.
definitely let everyone know, maybe on Instagram and Facebook. If you're not following Sav and me on Instagram and Facebook, make sure, because we share a lot more quick tips, stories. Especially Sav shares a lot of stories, and I
Mhm.
share a lot of deals, the properties that are coming onto the market and all. He's saying yes, yes. He's giving the sign. Make sure you follow. He's asking to follow you guys. So yeah, so make sure you guys follow there. Now let's get into this ADU thing, Sav. First of
Yes.
all, for people who are thinking, first of all, why ADU? Why not a duplex or triplex?
Yeah. No, great question. Great question. I think you touched a little bit about it, in your introduction over there. But I want to take it even one step further, because a lot of people, I don't know your audience today, Aditya, or tonight, depending on how seasoned investors they are. Maybe they don't even, they're just newbies, or they want to get into investing, real estate investing. What is ADU in the first place, right? So let's talk about the basics. ADU stands for additional dwelling unit. Okay, so it means that it's a rentable, tenantable residential unit. Okay, in our case, why do you say additional dwelling unit? It's because you're actually taking a single family home, an existing single family home, it's only for one family, and you're adding an additional dwelling unit to that. Okay, so it's a little bit pedantic in the terminology. Okay, in reality, what's happening is you're taking a one family unit, one dwelling unit, and you're making it into two, at least two. Okay, so that's what an additional dwelling unit is. Now, to get into answering your question, why ADUs, and why not a legal duplex? Well, it's simple. I'll tell you my story. Right, when I came to Windsor out of Toronto, where I had a bit of money when I came in. Right, so the first thing I did, what did I do? I bought a legal duplex. That's everybody who comes to Windsor wants a multi-family cash flowing property, right? I did that. I could afford that. Okay. Now here I am. I bought my primary residence. Of course, I need to live somewhere, and then I bought this duplex. I want to buy the next one, or maybe even the third one, right? But by then, the secret's out of the bag from Windsor. Everybody knows Windsor right now. So all the Torontonians are flocking to Windsor. Any kind of multi-family family that's coming out in the market is getting bidding wars, right? So no longer me as an ex-Torontonian can afford to fight with other Torontonians because the price is too high. you know, so I mean, you know how it is, Aditya. That's the fact, right? And it's too expensive to get into those bidding wars as an investor. So I didn't really create the wheel. I studied. That's what I did. I went back into the books. I went back online. I researched. I asked other investors. I joined communities and investing groups on Facebook, and I started to learn. I listened to podcasts. What did other investors do? Because what was happening in Windsor at that time was nothing new for real estate investing in Canada, right? Other places in Canada were already going through this, right? GTA, mainly the GTA. So what did other investors do to fight this battle where they couldn't afford to buy a turnkey multifamily? They made a multifamily themselves. Really, they built a multifamily, right? They took a single family and they converted into a multifamily. And that's why I started doing ADUs and so on and so forth, right? Additional dwelling units. When you look at the numbers and we talk about that, of course, it makes so much more sense, right? You are
Yep.
not fighting with other investors on a property and paying over market prices. You are taking what you already have and reinvesting your money in that and making that into more cash flow, positive, more positive cash flow. So it became a no-brainer for me, right? And I think that's the reason why people do ADUs versus buying turnkey projects.
Yep.
Long way
So
to answer
let's
your question, but I hope I did.
no, that's a great way to answer. I have one more point to add to it. The reason why I joined, but before, let me check out this. Aparna says, thank to Sav videos. I have done two ADU projects going on, one in London and one in Bellevue. So congratulations to you, Arpan. I tried Windsor, but the market was crazy. So here's the thing: right now in Ontario, most of the major cities have a crazy market. But let me touch on this: why I have started, right? Like so, as you know, and most of people who've been following me knows that I have a lot of single families and duplexes in you know average neighborhoods like Walkerville, some of them in below average neighborhoods like downtown Southwest Windsor. So I was like slowly looking into, what I want in a better location, but I don't want to compromise on my cash flow because my properties in an average location, below average location, are making solid cash flow. So that's when, like, I want to get into good neighborhoods, but my cash flow is not enough. That's when you told me, like, when you were, I think by then you already had like 3 or 4 single family homes in South Windsor with the ADU, and it was making more sense for me because when I want to get into better neighborhoods like A class neighborhoods like South Windsor, Forest Glade, LaSalle. Now LaSalle, good news for people who've been waiting for LaSalle. Now
Yes.
also you can do ADUs in LaSalle too. So I wanted to get into good neighborhoods, but for me the cash flow was not making sense as a traditional single family home. It was just breaking even at that point. Now, probably it would not even break even with just a single family. So now I want A class neighborhood, I want A class tenants, but I want cash flow as well. That's one of the biggest reason where I started, because in good neighborhoods, there are no duplexes, there are no triplexes. So my only option was single family homes, take it on, and eventually add those ADUs to get maximum cash flow.
Yeah.
So
So I just want to
moving
add
on
something
to
there.
you. Yeah,
I just
go
want to
ahead.
add something there as well, Aditya. It's and you've experienced this as well. I mean, in Windsor, as you know now, there is a big push by the city of Windsor for landlord licenses. I was trying to get the term exactly what they're using, right? Landlord licenses, and a lot of investors who are, investing in these so-called shittier neighborhoods, the little bit of a rundown neighborhood, right? We're talking about Sandwich, we're talking about downtown, university area. They were not really doing it according to code, right? They were adding units, they're adding bedrooms even, not with according to code. And the city of Windsor has really, in the last year, and I think moving forward, that's going to be a big feature of the city of Windsor. They want to make sure that these places are safe, right?
Yeah,
So here's another reason why you should be doing an ADU, because you're really legalizing the fact that you can have people living in there. Listen,
yep,
ADU is one thing, right? But the I can't get the terminology now, but every city has their own sort of dwelling, residential bylaw that they pass, right? That says these are the minimum requirements of a house. Okay, and those requirements say that basically in every bedroom you can have up to two adults by law. That's legal, right? So imagine if you take your student housing and actually legalize that second unit where you have maybe 3 or 4 bedrooms. By law, you can have now another 12 students in that, right? Legally. So it's so important that you do it correctly and you do it legally, because after that, the city can't come in and say, "Oh, you're running a boarding house here, right? And it's
yep,
dangerous, and you need to close this down right now." For peace of mind for yourself and for your tenant, I think it's super important.
yep. And also adding on to that, city already started to shut down some, non-conforming duplexes, not legal duplexes, because a lot of people, in 1950s, 1960s, 70s, they have just made those units. At that time, probably, I guess bylaw was not that strict, or I don't know what was the reason. Even one of my duplex was shut down. I mean, shut down in the sense they said I can only use it as a single family. If I want to make it a duplex, I have to go through the rezoning, or I have to do the ADU. That unit, it was perfect, like looks like a duplex. Even the city said in most of the on their websites, has a, mm, the geo warehouse and a lot of websites, the city websites have it as a duplex. Still, it was um, they said it's not a duplex. It's not a grandfathered in. It's not legal. So now my only option is to ADU or rezone.
But
So
listen, it's an important point that you bring up, because I think a lot of your audience and your investors should know that from a real estate investing point of view, or real estate in general, right? And Windsor, there was nothing happening in the city, unfortunately, for many years, for decades. The market was
yeah,
zero for real estate investing. It was nothing. They never had these kind of problems where they had rental issues, when they had so many investors coming in and buying these properties. Nobody was buying anything. If you look at the trend, and Aditya, I think at one point you should show that, right? If you take it from the
yeah,
50s right up to maybe, I want to say 2010, real estate in Windsor was like this, if not, going down
yeah,
maybe, right? And then one day, uh, the shit hit the fan, if you will, and everything turned around, right? So you got to understand, from a city's point of view, a municipality's point of view, they are now inundated with all these problems that they never had before. So they have to learn themselves, right? These things that they call duplexes were not really duplexes, because they didn't meet the OBC, the Ontario Building Code, right? And they had to go back and not grandfather these in, but make people go and retrofit these houses or these properties so they are safe. And that's the number one concern from the city of Windsor, right? So yeah, so and as part of that, they're really pushing this ADU, the additional dwelling unit concept, quite strongly in Windsor, and we are lucky. We are lucky that we have it, because we know other municipalities around Ontario that it makes it very, very hard for you to legalize your basement, or your secondary unit, right? So we
yeah.
should take advantage of that.
So
That's
yeah, great point, Sam. So the biggest question, right? Like a lot of people asked me, so which I wanted to ask you, because now you're the ADU expert, I'm the beginner. So um,
That's not true, man. you got a
okay,
you got a
uh,
few bit of experience yourself, eh? You got a few properties
okay,
as well.
I got one ADU completed successfully, so I can claim myself as okay. I got the step up, one step in. But so um, going to the question, the major question, right? Like even I had before I started ADU process, before I had my ADU journey going on, before I was convinced to do ADUs, how much cost does it takes to create one ADU? How much cost do I need to, yeah, how much money in a layman terms do I have to spend to make one ADU and to make two ADUs? A rough estimation.
Yeah, that's a loaded question, eh? That's a loaded question. Whatever I say now, stop recording, because if anybody says Savio told me that on Aditya's
Okay,
podcast, I'm gonna say no,
so
I lied. You're lying. I didn't
okay,
say
you know
anything.
what? I'll give a disclaimer here right now before you answer. We are not financial advisors. We are not, you know, we are not giving us advice here. We are just sharing our thoughts. So don't just rely on our information. Make sure do your verification, all those things. Please
Yeah.
go ahead, Sam.
No. Yeah. It's jokes aside, it is a tough question, because the problem we having is that COVID has really killed all kind of numbers, right? When it comes to cost of materials, cost of labor, right? Things like this. It is so variable. Where before COVID, 2 years ago, we could say for sure lumber prices are this much, right? We are paying, $3 or whatever for lumber. Today it's 6.99, right? For a 2x4. 6.99, $6.99. Last month it was, under $5. So it is continuously varying, right? When you were doing your ADU project, I think it was probably the most expensive ever at $12
Mm,
a stick. You know what I'm saying? So it's so variable. But I'm not trying to beat around the bush for your question. So rough numbers. If you want to do an ADU in your existing single family home, you should be budgeting about 150 to $175 per square foot. Okay.
got it.
And what this means, what will this get you? This will get you a completely updated upper unit. So we're talking about kitchen, bath, paint, and floors, right? And then
Hmm.
a completely brand new ADU in the basement, right? Uh, it also includes splitting of all the meters, right? So
Yeah.
we'll talk about this later, I guess, Aditya. But it's
Yeah.
always recommended when you're doing such major construction, split all the meters, right? So for between $150 to $175 a square foot, depending on the finishes, obviously, you can get an ADU in your single family home. Now, if you want to add the second ADU at the same time, and this is the caveat, okay? This is the caveat. This is the most important point of this. If you're doing it at the same time as you're doing the first ADU, you can add another $100 per square foot. So, $250 per square foot, you're getting
But is that going to be detached or within the garage?
detached ADU. Okay.
Okay.
That means it's basically a new build, right? That's, in your backyard. So for 250 a square foot, I want to say 250 to 280, depending on finishes, you can do an ADU in your basement and a detached ADU, right? And that's if you're doing it at the same time. Now, if you say, you know what, I'm going to put the ADU in the basement first, and then he's awake. God
Yeah.
is awake.
He's listening all the ADUs so that he can
Yeah,
become
man.
the youngest investor.
Yes, man. That's
Sorry,
how
go
it
ahead.
is. No, now he wants the attention. So yeah, I was saying that basically, if you don't do it at the same time, if you say, listen, Sab, let's do an ADU in the basement, and then 1 year later, let's come back and do the detached ADU, obviously the number is going to go up. Because if you think about it logically, you have your electrician, you have your plumber, you have your HVAC, they're doing all this work in the house right now. So for them to go into the backyard and do the same thing in the backyard ADU, they're not going to charge you premium rates. They want a big job, right? They want the 20,
Yep.
$30,000 jobs instead of taking 5,000, right? You know what I'm saying? So they give you a good deal if they can get the bigger job right there and then. So my advice is for anybody who's doing ADUs in Windsor, at least, do it at the same time. Try and do it at the same time because it'll save you a bit of money.
Yeah. So again, thank you so much for at least giving me without beating in the bushes, because I have asked many people in the past, they don't give the numbers. Again, of course, the numbers will change, as you said. Of course, if you're doing it in Windsor, contact Sav, because he can come and his team is here to give an estimation. If you like it, work with him, because most of my projects and most of our clients work with Sav. So thank you so much on that one. Now going to the next question, right? So the biggest question, I get the second biggest question after this one is, how do I get that access to that much cash? Because for a lot of people, it's a question. Hey, I need a down payment, plus now I need a renovation cost. So renovation cost, like we discussed, if it's 150 to 170 per square feet, and approximately, if your basement is good size, maximum city allows is up to 1,000 square feet, I believe.
Yeah.
Or so
1010.
now,
Yeah.
yeah. So if we are doing 1,000 square feet, inside the house, in the basement, now it's 150 to 170 there, 1,000 plus. If you're doing a detached ADU, like you said, 250 to 280. So for 250, if it's another 1,000 square feet, now it's 250,000. So now we are over 400,000 cash for this one, plus down payment. So what are the ways that someone is interested but don't have enough cash? Is there any way that they can do it, or they have to
So
wait until they have cash?
just to make a correction over there, Aditya, when I said 250, I'm saying it includes the basement as well. So 250
Oh,
is
okay, okay,
basement plus the detached ADU. Yeah, it was 400, man. You're out the water. You're not cash flowing after that. No.
okay. Sorry,
Yeah,
my bad then. So
yeah,
probably you're saying, for 2,000 square feet, 215 to 2,000.
Yes, something like that. So it's about 200. It's about $250,000 where you're going to get a basement ADU, 1,000 square foot ADU in the basement, and it's not going to be 1,000 square foot in the backyard. You're talking about maybe six,
It's a
700
smaller.
square foot, smaller,
Got it. Okay.
right?
Yeah. So
So
let's say on an average 300,000 together.
yeah, worst case scenario, definitely yes.
Okay, so let's go with that number, 300,000. So I need 300,000 plus down payment. So what are the ways that you see investors, pull that resources?
So many. Where do we start? And I have to give you my
Yeah,
whole in my mind. So
please
I
list.
yeah, listen, bank of mom and dad, right? They have a lot of money, private money, right? Hard money, going to the banks and getting maybe a construction loan, right? A mortgage plus construction, right? Finding a JV partner. I mean, those are five already that I mentioned. There are so many ways. You just have to go out there and talk to people and find out the way,
Yeah. One of the
because
major one I would add to that list, if you have a primary home and you have a solid equity, home equity line of credit, a big one that I have seen in.
there you go. From
If you
your
don't
from
know
your
what's home equity line of credit, just Google HELOC, HELOC. Just in simple layman terms, if you have a primary home, if the current value is, let's say, 500,000 and you have only 100,000 mortgage, if you go to the bank, they will refinance and give you a mortgage for 400,000, 80% loan to value. Um, Depends on your credit history and all those things. Of course, there are the terms and conditions apply, but in general, you should get 400,000. You pay off your 100,000 mortgage, you have extra 300,000 cash. There you go. That's in a simple terms. There are a lot of people who has $1 million homes, only 200,000 mortgage, 1.5 million home, 500,000 mortgage. So you have access to your money through your home. If it's sitting there, it's dead money. If you're using for investment purpose, you can write up the interest. Of course, I'm not an accountant. Please verify with your accountant. But from my knowledge, you can use whatever the amount you're using for investment purpose, you can write up that interest and generate extra cash. So OPM, other people's money, the best way to invest in real estate.
that's crazy, because I was just thinking to myself that I gave you five ways to get the money, and all those five ways are not even your own money. It's other people's money.
Yeah.
Before you talked about using your own equity, your own assets that you have, right? So that's how my mindset as an investor is always thinking. How do I
Yeah.
scale up? I don't have the money, and maybe my properties are already maxed out. I need to find money from outside. So, don't. I think the message over here is that don't let the mindset stop you, right? Don't let that
Yeah.
number, when you come up with $300,000, oh my God, where do I get? I don't have $300,000. You have $300,000, not in your pocket, but in your network, right? So you have to think about that always. Don't let those things stop you from expanding your empire, if you will, and live the freedom lifestyle that Aditya is living right now. That's the way you got to do it. That you have to scale up. You have to scale up, right? Fast in the start. I just want to say a little story on this, Aditya. If you
Yeah,
allow.
please go ahead. Yeah, I'll love to hear it.
So I mean, you know this as well, right? I just went through a big refi myself, right? All my
Yep.
properties that I bought, I went through a huge refi right
How
now.
would I forget that?
Yeah, thanks to Aditya. Aditya helped me by giving me a very, very good mortgage broker's contact, right? And that's another thing. Again, going back to your network, if you don't ask, you will never get, right? Because in my mind, yes, I had all these properties, these assets, but I was never going to qualify for a mortgage because I don't have an income. I'm not a realtor. Aditya's a realtor. Realtors have income, right? I don't have income. I have a construction business that really just started into 2021, which is good, but prior to that, I don't have income, so it's very hard for me to qualify, right? And in my mind, it's like, oh man, I have all this equity in these houses that I have. How do I pull this out? So I simply had a conversation. Aditya came over for a drink one day and we talked about it. He said, I got the guy for you. Let's talk to this guy and he's going to work it out. So always ask. If you don't ask, you will never receive. Okay. And it's, ask the universe, ask the gods, they will give you. So the story goes is that I started the process, right? And during this process, this mortgage broker, without saying any names, is a mortgage broker, right? He deals with investors for a lot, for the most part, but I kind of did it the other way from investing. I didn't have the income. I went and bought all these properties, right? And how did I buy? I used other people's money. I took private money loans at high interest rates or whatever interest rates. I borrowed, I begged, I stole. I didn't steal, but whatever. I have all this debt, okay, without having the income. But I knew in my heart of hearts, I knew from investing point of view, I have to acquire these assets. I have to acquire these assets, right? Because if I want that freedom lifestyle, these assets are going to give me that lifestyle at the end of the day. Okay, how am I going to pay for it? These assets are going to pay for itself, but I need to get the money out, right? So during the process, the mortgage broker is like, man, you're over leveraged. You're over leveraged. You got too much debt, guy. Too much debt. And you want to keep these houses? Sell a house. Sell a house. We're talking about it monopoly. Sell a house, right? And I'm thinking, man, at one point, because it was such a tedious process, I thought that that's what I have to do. And I was telling my wife, I said, you know what, we got to get rid of one of these properties. But something in my heart, something in my chest said, don't do it. Let's just wait the process. Let's figure it out. Something will happen, right? And by his by my God's grace and his great work, the mortgage brokers, excellence in what he does, he got through, right? We pushed through the line, and I got the refinance done, and all my properties still in my pocket, still in my hand, right? And today I'm thinking to myself, man, if I sold that house, I'll be one property less, right? But I did
And
not.
please don't forget to mention they are still cash flowing, right? Are
Oh,
they?
yeah,
After refi?
tremendously. After refi, tremendously cash flow, right? And
Yeah,
when I say
because
tremendously,
we want to. I want to make sure audience know that what freedom. How can you buy that freedom, right? How
yeah,
much cash flow, like that whatever the cash flow that you're making, is that good enough to survive?
yeah. Listen, honestly speaking, in passive income, in truly passive income, right? And it's not really truly. I mean, being a landlord or getting rental income is not truly passive, because you still have to do work, right? You still have to manage
Yep.
the tenants and whatnot. But whatever, we call it quasi passive. You need volume, right? You need volume. So if and I can tell you, in Windsor, on average, with an ADU, or if it's a duplex or whatever, we are averaging, after refi and maximizing these properties, we are averaging about, I want to say, anywhere between $500 and $800 a month, positive cash flow.
Yeah.
Positive, right? We're not talking about cap rates, but positive cash flow. So after your mortgage payments, property taxes, insurance, maintenance, vacancy,
Net cash flow.
net cash flow, right? Which is
Yeah.
pretty damn good,
Yeah.
because you're not getting that in GTA, that's for sure, right? So, my point I was trying to make about my story about going through this refi is that, it's hard. Sometimes it's hard. Where do I get this money from? Do I really need to borrow this money from, at a higher interest rate? Yes, you do, because you got to believe in yourself and believe in what hundreds of others, thousands of others have done before you. Don't let fear set in and block you, right? Because that could have happened to me, and I would not be sitting on my portfolio that I'm sitting on right now. Okay, so sometimes you have to do it the hard way. Get in there, get your feet in the ground, because if the numbers work and you can calculate the numbers, and you can talk to guys like Aditya and myself to help you calculate those numbers, and if they're positive at the end of the refi, no brainer, do it.
Yep, love it, love it. Thank you so much, Shav. That's a great story. Of course, I know it, but I'm glad you shared it, because that's the big part. So here, read another good story here. Just looked at all my DP out of my primary home, down payment out of, took all the down payment out of my primary home, bought it last year and refinanced it, plus did force appreciation with all the renos, looking for an investment property to burr. So that's the second comment here. What are your thoughts on the burr in GTA at ongoing prices? So can you add your thoughts on burr strategy in GTA?
I'll
So
let
first
you
of all,
do.
Reeth, congratulations on
Yeah.
taking the step, because that's a big part.
Yes, absolutely. You're brave. You're brave. You're doing things that others are scared to do. So congratulations. Uh, if you don't know me by now, I'm very blunt. I'm to the point. I cannot lie. Forget GTA, man. Come to Windsor. That's where you're going to get the
Yeah,
burp property now. You're not going to get it in GTA anymore. Okay. And just to give your audience, what's it called? A reality check, right? So I'm from Oakville. That's where I moved from before I came to Windsor. I sold my house in Oakville for 1088 million. Okay, 1,088,000. I was talking to my realtor friend this week, Aditya, right, in Oakville, and I was like, man, Glen Abbey area, Pilgrim's Way, he lives down the road from where I live. What's the market right now? If I want to come back to Oakville tomorrow, what am I looking at? Guess what? So I came here 4 years ago to Windsor. 4 years, right, Aditya? Three and a half, not
yep,
even four, 3.5 years ago. I sold my house for 1088. Today, if I want to buy that same house back, 2.5 mil. 2.5
wow.
mil. When he told me that, I was like, I almost spat out my drink that I was drinking in my car. I was like, what? Oh my God, what do investors do, right? So this whole thing about ADU came about because of GTA. It happened in
Yeah,
Hamilton, where nobody could afford just to rent a property a single family home and just rent it, right? And cash flow. They were money out of their pocket every single month. So some smart guy said, okay, why don't we add a secondary unit into it, right? And then maybe cash flow. Now that is, even with a secondary unit, they're not cash flowing anymore because the property prices keep going higher and higher and higher,
Yeah,
right?
how can you cash flow on a 2.5 million home?
Nah, no way, no way. So
My building appraised for 2.5 million, and the appraiser said, I don't believe your building appraised for this. The underwriter, I don't believe in your price. It's a 17 freaking units. So sorry, that just a side off track. That really blows my mind. 2.5, how can you cash flow?
tell
So
the underwriter it's your appraiser who gave that number. So
yeah, he gave almost 2.7 as the market
wow,
up. What do you call the market comparison based on the comparables is 2.7, and
wow.
based on the income 2.5, and on average he made it like 2.6 as a value. But underwriter now they wants to know all the things. But now going back to his question, honestly, if you don't have solid cash to buy in GTA, don't don't look at GTA. Go for smaller cities. It's yes, it's crazy everywhere, but in GTA right now we have a property coming onto the market. It's almost already all the permits ready. Do cosmetic renovations. You'll have you can make 2 units, or you can have a single family with a in-law suite, whatever you call it. You can get it for under 400,000. A single family home. You got to spend another 30,000, 40,000 to do the lipstick work, but you can get under 400,000. There are still deals under 500,000 here in Windsor for detached, not semi, not condo. You can still find under 500, because if you find under 500, 600, you can still make positive cash flow. You can still make, in a good returns. So, which is getting tougher and tougher in Hamilton or London, all the bigger cities nearby GTA. That's why now investors looking at Windsor and Niagara, other cities like Windsor, and
Yep.
especially Windsor, because we are the border city, the Detroit, the biggest city, one of the major you know uh, industries in that area, like which is growing now, the electrical cars and software related to electrical cars. A lot of things happening, which is a big push for Windsor. So now Windsor has that potential for appreciation. At the same time, as an investor, you want that positive cash flow, which is still possible. That's exactly why we are talking about ADU, double ADU, not just one ADU, because
Yeah.
previously one ADU was good enough to make a solid cash flow. Of course, because of the market shift. So if you want to just wait for the market crash and do the investing at that point, who knows when the market crash is going to happen? Number one. And number two, what if you don't have the right mindset at that time, or you have something else came up? So investing in the phases is always the best way. And the bigger investors like Warren Buffett, anyone you take, they invest in phases. So going back, I would say come to Windsor.
There you go. If you don't agree after that, oh, he already said. Reed said he's going to be calling Aditya soon. Great.
Calling me, yeah.
Call him tomorrow, Reed.
Perfect.
Call him tomorrow. But going back to, I'm not to brag, but your story is what we hear all the time from investors, right? That they are maxed out in GTA. They can't afford to buy anything more in GTA, or even if they can afford to buy, they can't cash flow, right? So how do we help them? And that's the power. That's the power of the power team, right? You gotta have the network, because just because you're sitting in GTA, I don't know which part of GTA you are, Reed, but just because you're sitting there doesn't mean you can't remotely invest. If you know guys like Aditya, who's going to give you the world on your platter, really, in Windsor, you got to make friends with him. You got to make that contact with him, and you got to make the network, get his network, right? Because he's going to find you the property, but then he's going to find you the mortgage broker. He's going to find you the contractor like myself to do the work. He's going to find you the property management company, and so on and so forth, where you can just basically remote control, right? That's the dream for any investor, right? That's the freedom that Aditya is having, or he's talking about, right? Is where you don't have to be hands on into your property, that you can sit there and remote control and make that cash flow come to you, right? So
Yep.
yeah, give him a call for sure.
Again, Thank you so much, Sam, for marketing on my behalf. But here's the thing, right? Like just the
Too
finding the
busy.
right team is the biggest key, because people who haven't done anything, if someone, if you're, especially if you're starting out your career right now, you need a solid agent. I have started with my agent, and I have, like, until I got my license, I worked with my agent for buying and selling, because I was new into the game, and she already owned like 5 or 6 properties. They were already having the financial freedom at that time. I said, okay, all I want is what exactly you have done, because they have went through the problems, because they went through the challenges, because they already did, not just said. Because in this industry, you will see a lot of people who just talk. You look for people who have done, who is doing, who is active, who is crushing it. Because any city, doesn't matter where you're investing, I don't care. If you're coming to Windsor, Win City, me and my team are here. We are investor focused team here. We are investors. So because we are investors, we have all the contacts, like Sav said. So whichever the city you're investing, find those kind of people like Sav, contractors who are experienced in ADU if you want to do ADU. Because if you're talking to a contractor who doesn't know anything about ADU, now the cost for you will be more. The time you have to spend on that will be more, because you both are trying to figure out together. Whereas when you're working with someone who already have the experience, they'll save you time and money.
For sure.
So
Um,
before I go on to my next question, let's see here. Shuk said, what would a new build detached cost in Windsor? A 4 bedroom, 55 feet lot.
45 feet
So
lot.
he's talking about a new construction for a new home.
Yeah. Yeah. On average, Sook, we are talking about basically about $250 per square foot right now.
Yep.
Finished product, right? So from breaking ground, I assume it's a service lot, obviously. You have utilities coming to the lot, but about 250 to 270, $280, per square foot. That's what you're looking at.
Yeah. That's around an average. And if you want luxury, of course it goes up. So
But I
get the
love this.
quotation on that.
I love this guy's mindset, right? Because he's thinking that, okay, I can't afford to buy anymore. I don't want to compete. If I have a piece of land and I can get a cheaper land, why not, build from scratch, right? So that's super important. I love that, and think about that. So I don't know if that's your mindset, but for other investors out there, new construction, it's not hard. It's not as hard as you think. Everything is hard at the start, right? Again, remember I told
Yeah.
you I didn't even know what a gutter or a downspout was 4 years ago. Right now, I'm dropping basements, I'm doing underpinning, I'm doing additions, I'm doing right. It's completely thing, right? Because in my mind, nothing is. You can figure out everything. Basically, that's my mindset. You can figure out everything. So think about that. When it comes to what's it called, new builds, because that's an opportunity a lot of people don't realize that they have. And again, going back to the detached ADU, really a detached ADU is a new build, right? In your existing property. Don't have to look for other properties. Look within your portfolio first. What can I do to maximize my cash flow within my portfolio before I look somewhere else? Okay, so I love it. So good idea.
Yeah, love it. And also, just congratulations for both of us. Thank you so much, Silva, for giving the feedback. I really appreciate. So he says we have worked with Aditya's team, and Sav's highly recommended both of them. So thank you so much. We really appreciate that feedback. Because of you guys, we share that kind of encouragement, helps us to share more information for you guys, give you more insight into the real estate investing side, so that you can have the financial freedom that I'm talking about. Again, guys, if you're someone joining right now, I was till now with my niece. My sister just took him with me. He was here. I was literally,
He
I'm
walked away.
here with him. No, he walked away from me because uncle is talking too much on camera. He's not caring me. So he came for sunlight. But the freedom, really, like, why we need this ADUs, we need this kind of lifestyle, right? Right now I'm in India, and I'm there for my sister's birth. Like, she gave birth to a beautiful, handsome son, and I'm there from the day one. And today is the 21st ceremony. I'm here with him, and my dad took my bullet. Uh, I bought a beautiful, like my favorite bike, and I'm enjoying that ride here. Again, I'm not telling to brag. Honestly, this channel is all about sharing. How can you do that same, like not the same thing, whatever the freedom that you think is freedom for you, and that freedom comes from the cash flow, and that cash flow right now with this market craziness is with the ADUs. So that's why all this discussion is going on. So going on to the next question, before I drop my question, here let's see, Sam is saying in Canada, is 20% down needed to not to pay extra mortgage insurance? So Sam, do you want to take on that question or you want me to answer?
Please go for it. Please go for it.
So again, this is a general question. The mortgage insurance, I'm assuming you're talking about the CMHC. So the insurance for the mortgager is, yes, if you pay 20 or more, you don't need a mortgage insurance. So that is some saving for you. If you don't want to have a higher leverage, you can save on that. If you want to buy more properties, you can leverage. If it's your primary home, you can qualify for lower than 20% down. So great point. If you're a like brand new investor or brand new person looking to buy an investment property, but you have very less money, yes, you can still, that's how I started. You can still buy a home with 5% down. If it's a single family or duplex, you qualify for 5%. Of course, you have to qualify for the mortgage amount. So for 5%, if it's a 500,000 home, you just need 25,000 instead of 20% down, which is 100,000. So you can utilize that. If it's going to be your primary home, you use one unit for your personal use, and the requirement is like you have to live in that house for 1 year, and it's not a must. Of course, there are certain things that we can go on and on to talk about. That's for another day. So let's continue with this ADU questions. So Sab, another common problem that I get, like, what's the timeline? What's the timeline from the day I purchase a single family home to convert into one in the basement ADU and the detached ADU? How long does it take?
Oh yeah, it's it's another very tough question you're asking me, because again, we're not in a normal situation, right? Or at least we're not in the situation that we think that is normal. Now probably
Mm-hmm.
it's the new normal, with COVID. I can tell you today, for example, I lost 8 guys. 8 of my guys are with COVID right now, so they're not showing up to work for the last couple of weeks, right? What can you say about that? At this point, I have ongoing right now 13 projects. 13, right? All of the projects are really at a standstill because of this issue. So it's a very volatile situation with COVID and the lockdowns and the rules. What's happening with the municipal governments, so on and so forth. So I'm not going to get into a political discussion over here, but I would love to say it takes 4 months, not anymore. That's what we were trying to do or achieving before pre-COVID days, right? Now we're talking about anywhere between 6 and 8 months. Okay, that's to get the permit in the first place, because the city themselves takes forever, right? My last permit took me 13 weeks to get the permit. So can you imagine? We can't even really start the work in earnest until we get the permit in hand. You can do a lot of prep work, of course, but you can't really start the major stuff, right, until you get the permit, and you don't want to. So it's taking a bit longer, unfortunately. But it's a tough question, but it's a good question, because whenever a contractor tells you, and this is my learning, being a contractor myself, helping others do ADUs, always add some buffer to that timing, right? If the guy tells you it's going to take 4 to 6 months, make it 6 to 8 months in your cost calculation. Think to yourself, okay, I got to carry this property for another couple of months, because anything can happen, right? Anything can happen. So
Yeah.
So just mind out for that.
So a very important point you touch on, Sam. Carry cost. Make sure you account for. I would say, like Sav said, 1, 2, 3 months. I would say, if it's 4 to 5 months, just account for 1 year. Can you hold on to that project while the construction going on? No income. Make sure calculate that into how much cost you're going to carry for that 1 year, so that you don't have to sell in a rush. Because The reason why people don't make money in real estate, especially most of the time that I heard, is because they sell in under stress. When you sell under stress, you lost money.
Yeah.
So if you sell without stress, you make profit. So going on to next question, the fourth biggest question. um, what are the requirements? So now I'm looking at a single family home. I love to do an ADU. What do I have to look into? What kind of requirements that city needed to do this ADU in the basement and detached ADU?
There's only one requirement. How big is your wallet? That's it. because I mean, honestly, everything is doable. Aditya, in our own project, right? Because the first thing that everybody's going to say. So let me stop myself. When somebody asks anybody who's done an ADU, what is the top three things that you look for when you're looking at properties? And the first thing they're going to say, do you have the ceiling height in the basement? Okay, the Ontario Building Code requires you to have a certain ceiling height in the basement. Without the ceiling height, you cannot apply for ADU or you will never pass inspection. Okay, so that's the first thing that you're going to look for. But we know in our own project, we thought we had the ceiling height, but then when the owner had left the property and we cleaned up the place and we measured the ceiling height, it's different ceiling height in different places. Okay, what does that mean? Sell the property? No, we figured it out. We got to drop the basement, floor and get the ceiling height that we want. We just have to put more money into
Extra
it.
cost.
Extra cost. So everything is figure outable. But I understand what you're saying. Obviously, you want to line up your ducks before you even purchase the property. You want to go for the most easiest convertibility. Correct? That's what you want, right?
Yep.
So
Yes.
yes, ceiling height is a very, very big factor in ADUs. You have to maintain a certain ceiling height according to the Ontario Building Code. If you pass that, requirement, everything else is again doable. Okay, another
What's
very,
the
very,
safest ceiling height?
I would say 7 feet. If you have 7
7
feet
feet.
in the basement, right, then you're pretty much, you're 95% there. Okay,
Yeah.
but yeah, okay,
And
here's
I'll
a,
add on to that, from the mistake that we didn't
yeah,
do well.
yeah,
Don't just measure at one spot. We
yeah,
measured it a couple of spots and we thought it's 7. I was so happy. And the hack, it was not 7 in other areas. So
yeah,
make sure you measure throughout thoroughly.
yeah. Try to get at least 3 spots down the beam. Down the beam is the most preferable place where you measure the ceiling height. Try and get 3 spots down the beam, because in most basements in the older houses, what happens is that they build the floor at a slope so water can drain into the main drain, which is somewhere in the center of the basement. So if you go to the ends or the edges, you'll find that the ceiling height is shorter versus down in the middle where it's taller, right? In our case, we couldn't even get to the ends because there was so much stuff from the hoarder that we couldn't even move in that basement. But that's a different story. But again, even if it's not, if the numbers look good, don't give away that deal. Because I know a lot of people, I got a deal myself, right, that nobody wanted to buy because they thought ADU not possible, no ceiling height. I said, why not? I'm going to drop the ceiling. I'm going to drop the basement floor and get that ceiling height. And I got a deal that nobody else wanted, right? So,
So how much is the approximate cost to drop the ceiling?
okay,
Approximate.
so
I know it's hard to give.
yeah. So in today we are talking about basically, again, it depends. So if I was doing it for you, I would charge you something between 40 and 50 grand per 1,000 square foot, right? So if
1,000.
you're talking
Okay.
about a
So
1,000 square foot, yeah,
so that's, there you go, right? Like if you can get that discount on the project, or if you're getting that good deal, the deal is like still making sense with that extra cost. Hey, it's cost. I love that. So go on to the next requirements. What are the other major,
yeah. So
especially for detached, right? Like what's the lot size and how much can I build detached?
right. So the lot size is not an issue. Of course, zoning is the big issue, right? So you got to make sure that basically the zoning allows to put ADUs. If I talk about Windsor, we have a very high floodplain. So certain neighborhoods in Windsor, you can't put an ADU just because the water level is so high that if you go down in the basement, you're always going to have water in the basement, and obviously the city doesn't want that. It's not safe for anybody to live down there, right?
Yeah.
So zoning is super
And by the
important.
way, on the city website, sorry, Sav, I'll stop you there
Yeah,
because that's another very good point. There is on the city website, go on to ADUs, you will see a map, which is the flood zone area. They have a map. If it's in on the flood zone, and if it's in the border, if it's the other side or this side, send an email to the city. Get 100% confirmation from the city if you can, if you qualify for ADUs in that area. So go on, please.
Yeah, I mean, it's excellent because these points you can already clarify before you put in an offer. So if you have something in mind, you have a property in mind, Aditya shows you, hey, this is a perfect idea, perfect property for ADU. You can ask the city all these questions before you even put in an offer, and you should know this because you don't want to put in an offer, get the offer accepted, waste time on each other's party, and then find out, oh, by the way, you're on a flood zone, you can't even do an ADU, or you don't meet the parking requirements, or whatever, right? So that's another one you got to talk about is the parking requirements. In the city of Windsor, we are super lucky again, like unlike other municipalities. Okay, they allow us to do what they call tandem parking on your driveway. So an ADU requirement by the city is that you have to have at least one spot per dwelling unit. So if you just have one up and one down, it means you need to have two spots, right? So one for the main floor, one for the basement. If you add a
And what's
detached,
standard
yeah, I'm coming to that.
for
So if
layman terms?
layman terms, I'm coming to that. If you have a detached third ADU, means you need three spots on the driveway, not on the street, on the driveway. So what is tandem? Tandem is basically you can park one behind the other. Let me get in my camera here.
Yeah.
So if this is the top main unit, the below unit can go and park behind him, no problem. Okay, and the third unit can park behind that guy, so they can be in a straight line. Okay, other municipalities, they don't allow that. They say, okay, what if one guy is blocked, right? Well, in Windsor, that's up to the tenants to figure that out, which is great. So you don't have to have side by side parking, which means you don't have to have wide driveways. You need to have long driveways. And guess what? In Windsor, most of the neighborhoods, you have long driveways, right? So generally speaking, the parking requirement is kind of easy. I want to say easier to actually find. More than likely you're already achieving that, right? So zoning, super important. Okay, parking, important. Ceiling height, just from a cost point of view. The fourth one is a grade entrance. Okay, how's the person going to get into the unit? They can't go through the main unit to go down to their unit, right? They need a separate entrance. So if a house that you're looking at already has a separate entrance that goes down to the basement, great, awesome. If it doesn't have one, I think is going to ask me already how much is the cost to put one. 15 grand. Okay, so 15,000, we can make you another entrance that goes down to the basement to your separate unit. So again, it's about cost, right? Don't worry about that's it's a nice to have, but if you don't have it, it can be done.
And another thing, requirement related to how much square footage can I build in the detached based on the lot size? How do they calculate? What's the maximum? What's the minimum?
Ah, man, now you ask me very technical questions. I have to go back to my rule books. But
Okay, so
if you know it on the top of your head, tell me, or you can correct me.
yeah, I mean, I know to like rough number because I'm doing right now one detached on my one of my single family home.
Okay.
So minimum they allow is like somewhere around 450 square feet something. That's a minimum. But based on the lot size,
Mhm.
let's say your total lot square footage is, let's say, 10,000 square feet. 10% of it, you will qualify up to 10%. Maximum, I believe, 1,100 square feet. Again, double check on the city website. There is a maximum. Like they don't allow more than that. Even if your 10% is more, if you have a bigger lot. But even if you have a smaller lot, if you have enough space with the setbacks, like there is a setback of 4 feet from each neighbor, and you have enough room with the parking and all the other requirements that Sad had talked, minimum they allow is like 450 or 500, somewhere in there, where you can build a one bedroom unit, one bedroom detached. That's the minimum. Even if your lot size is smaller, still you can build the minimum if you have enough setbacks. If you have bigger the lot, the maximum you can go up to the maximum 1100 square feet, approximately, give or take, somewhere around there.
Yeah, and also just for the audience to know, one critical thing is your detached ADU cannot be higher than your existing structure. Okay, so if you think that,
Yeah,
oh, it's a small 500 square foot, maybe I can put 2 stories. Potentially you could, but you can't go higher than the existing structure, right? Because you
yeah,
got to think about from the city point of view, right? They don't want to just cram a lot of units into one lot, have so many people living in the same place, getting in, getting out in a neighborhood that's single family homes, right? They don't want that.
yeah,
Visually it doesn't look good as well. So I
yeah.
agree.
Great point. And that's one of the reason why I had to go to raised ranch style, because my ADU that I'm building, a detached one, it's a shorter one. It's a short single family home. So now I I have to do one in the below grade, like one in the sense like the some square footage in the below grade, some square footage on the above grade, to match up or keep it lower. So great point. So guys, it's already like 1 hour. I will wrap up with one more question. If you have any more questions, please make sure leave it in the comments below. We'll answer one or two more questions, and we'll call it a day, because I don't want to take Saf's time. I'm in the AM, you guys in the PM, so it's time for you to sleep. So I really appreciate Sav once again. So let's look at one or two more questions, and then we'll wrap it. So here, Suk is asking another question. Any pre-construction condo projects coming to Windsor? GTA is too much. I have Lynn in my back office. Lynn, please leave our email address. Suk, make sure send us an email. If anything comes up, you will be in our newsletter. Anyone who is interested for any new projects coming up in Windsor, we will definitely send out an email. So make sure go on to our wincityre.com, go on to our website, send us an email. We'll put you in our database. We'll definitely make sure we'll reach out to you when we have something come up. As of now, we don't have a pre-construction condo as far as on top of my mind. But like I said, make sure send us an email. You'll be in our database for any off-market deals. We'll get some great deals, on a regular basis. We'll send out emails. We have a newsletter going on. Along with these great videos, we'll send you reminders. We'll send you emails about like different topics, how to get your financial freedom, how to analyze the deal, different topics. You'll get those emails. So it will be very, very helpful information. If you want to be on that, make sure send us an email or go on to our website, www.wincityre.com. So here, Alex, can you comment on why investing in Windsor rather than Calgary, Edmonton, Montreal? Just few important points, please, for a couple being in IT. Do you want to touch on that, Sav?
Yeah, I mean, I can only give you my personal, take on it, right? Everybody is different. I know a lot of, uh, again, before I tell you my personal take, I know a lot of investors in our community who are investing in Edmonton and Calgary and these places far west, right? I
Yep.
can't really comment on Montreal too much because I don't know too much about that. But when you talk about investing generally, right? Generally, real estate investing, you got to look at the market fundamentals. Is that particular city so good for investing? Don't go there because everybody says. Don't come to Windsor because Aditya and I told you, Windsor is what's happening. You can't afford GTA. Come to Windsor. That's the wrong reason why you should come to Windsor. Do your research. Get some market fundamentals about the areas that you want to invest in. I did that when it came to Edmonton and Calgary because I wanted to, go out there. People are telling me, oh my God, it's so cheap compared to GTA, right? You're crazy if you're investing in GTA. Come out there. But the market fundamentals were not there. It's a oil based driven economy, right? The moment the oil prices drop per barrel, people are losing jobs. Renters are leaving. People are leaving and coming back to Toronto area or going wherever else, right? Yes, when the oil prices are high, people have jobs. The rental market is great. Okay, what happens when those jobs are not there? And it's a very, very long, how do you say, negative economy that they have, right? So when I came to Canada, 10, 15 years ago, They were in a bad spell because the oil prices were, I think, $30 a barrel. And I had friends out in Calgary, and they were like, "Find us a job in Toronto, man. Find us a job. We want to come out there. We are dying out here." They had high mortgages that they couldn't afford to pay because they were not getting income. Stuff like that, right? So you got to do your market research, right? What is driving the economy there, right? In Windsor, yes, you can say that we are automotive dependent. That used to be the case, but there's so much more things happening in Windsor. And again, follow Aditya's channel because he talks a lot about why you should be investing in Windsor, the market fundamentals, right? The rental market, how easy it is to rent your property. What are the vacancy rates, right? If you're sitting in Toronto and you're doing this remotely, as we talked about before, what about property management companies? Who's going to take care of your property when you're sitting over here? Does that market um, entertain that kind of stuff? Can you get that kind of resources in the market? Or you're in, I shouldn't say anything bad, but none of it. Okay, if you're none of it, do you have property management companies there if you go and buy a property which is $100,000? You know what I'm saying? So those are the things you need to find out. Do a lot of research online. Everything is free, guys. Everything is free. And if it's a market like Edmonton, Calgary, Montreal, these are not small cities, these are big cities. You are bound to find investors who are investing there, so you can talk to people and ask them and get their ideas about it before you take the plunge, right? So
Yeah.
research.
And I'll add on to it. Actually, one of my guests in the past lives have added a great point here. They said, like, go on for a 1 week vacation to that city, whichever the cities that you're hearing, go on for a vacation there. Go talk to local people, find out what's going on, find out how they feel about renting out, find out, how is the job market, find out different things. Because don't just blindly invest, it's your hard earned money. You worked so hard, your ass off to make whatever the money you're making. So make sure research, make sure go connect with the people online and real in person as well. Of course, with the COVID, please be safe. All the stupid variances, stupid um, crazy stupid things going on, just be safe. But you have a lot of ways to research. Go find, again, we are not the gurus about the whole Canada. As of now, me and Sav, I think, I'm talking on your behalf of as well. Sav, correct me if I'm wrong. Both of us highly, heavily, most of our portfolio is in Windsor.
Absolutely.
Even till the date, right now we have 3 projects going on. So that's my thoughts, and I love that's what you said, and thank you so much for your time, and it was a fantastic discussion, and I'm pretty sure many people have learned a lot. If you did, please make sure in the comments say thank you for Sav for sharing his insight, without any closing information, everything transparently. So that's very, very thankful for that. And make sure follow Sav, and make sure follow me on Instagram for more, because the journey doesn't stop here. Instagram, you will get live updates on a regular basis. You can reach out to us on the chat. We will respond. We will respond on if you have any questions, anything going on. So with that, I'll say good night for everyone. And someone asked me when I'm back to Canada. I'm back. I'm going to Dubai for another 5 days vacation on 28th, and I'll be back on February 4th, I believe, 4th or 5th in Canada. So I'll be taking 2 days off when I'm in Canada because it's going to be jet lag and all. I'll be start working probably from 8th, but in this time, don't forget I have a solid team. Win City team here, they are like, I have amazing agents, amazing assistant, amazing operations manager. Um, Guys, send us an email. We'll be more than happy to help you guys right now from now. So with that, thank you so much, Seth. Have a
Thank
good
you.
night.
Have a good night.